So
Like
yeah,
just
A Knight's War, blends horror, medieval fantasy. What inspired this unique combination? Because I've seen it done both very, very well and very poor. So I know that it's a daunting task to get it done right.
well, first off, like I grew up with my brother. We watched Conan the Barbarian, Willow, all kinds of First Night, every medieval movie. Um, First off, we just love this genre, and I think for us, we wanted to make a medieval fantasy, but we wanted to make it a little bit darker. We wanted to lean into the horror, but we wanted to keep it beautiful and like very Renaissance inspired. And so that's kind of like the guidelines that we went into this, and we wanted it to be a serious world. I know some people do the campy route, which is totally cool, but for this one, I wanted it to feel like, this is actually happening, and that's kind of like how we went into it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I was curious about that, but I also wanted to know a little bit more about what drew you to the story ultimately. Like what got you excited?
Yeah, so Book of Enoch is something that I was reading during Death Valley, and I was reading about the Nephilim, and then I started reading about Lilith, and I didn't know who Lilith was. I've heard about her, and I read that she was the first woman. It wasn't Adam and Eve; it was Lilith and Adam. But Lilith was like, "Hey, I want to go hang out with demons instead of you, Adam. You're not my type." And she started like doing her own little thing. And when she came back to the garden, Adam had a new wife, Eve. I'm like, man, this Lilith girl that's a crazy story. Like, she's very interesting. So from there, we started building out like, well, who are the other gods and what are the fallen and just kind of reimagining, a medieval world based off of Lilith. And this kind of, my brother and I, we built this like new Bible of this world of the fallen and taking inspiration from Enoch and stuff like that. And then this story was the easiest entry point to that universe, if that makes sense. It was
Yeah.
like, okay, how can we start? I'm like, all right, this is a good part. Let's start here. And that's how we got into it.
Awesome. Yeah. And I guess what because there's a lot to unpack and I but like at the same time, like what do you hope audiences kind of learn about these characters or like what do you hope they take away from this overall story?
Oh man, I hope they fall in love with these characters. I hope they fall in love with the imagery, the story, the just the journey that they go on. I think Bodhi and Avalon, I really fell in love with their characters on script, on screen, and just the fallen, the gods, the monsters. I think I hope they're left with wanting more. That's what I really hope deep down, that people are just like, man, let's see the next one, because there's so much more we want to do with this universe, and just really pumped with how this one came out.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I can say from personal experience, like this isn't exactly my go-to genre, but whenever I saw the trailer, it like immediately like hooked me. So I had to reach out. I had to get in touch with you guys. I had to see the film. So yeah, the case in point, here we are. Um,
Yeah.
so keeping that in mind, I all of the sets were built by hand. Can you talk about that process? And maybe some challenges you guys faced.
Yeah, we had, yeah, originally we're like, do we go to Ireland? Where do we get our castles? How's it going to work? And it was you have to have, like, the world didn't exist. So we sat down and realized we're just gonna have to build this. And I built a castle in my backyard, which just sounds hilarious when I say that. My neighbors, it's still up right now. My neighbors think I'm crazy, and my kids love it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I built a castle at my brother's, and then we built another castle at my house. And between those two sets, those were our home bases, where we're like, okay, this is the interiors, this is for the witches. And I think it took us about 2 months in total to build everything and all the sets. And it was such an undertaking. Every time we went to the hardware store, we would just, we'd buy out everything foam. And between my brother, Robin, and a couple other crew members, we built a whole medieval little universe of castles, which is just so much fun. They're still there, they're still standing. Hopefully we can keep going with them.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it looks really good. Hearing that firsthand, how did you balance those budget constraints, but still achieve, that grand medieval horror aesthetic? Because, hearing that, it's impressive because it's something special, man. So, yeah, I mean, at worst case scenario, at least you know how to build a castle, I guess.
Yeah, I think really the only reason you make a medieval fantasy, in my opinion, is if you really love medieval fantasy, and I really love it. There's so much love that goes into this that it's not really a budget thing. It's kind of like I'm just gonna do this because this is my art, this is what I love, this is what I'm gonna do, and you find some other people who are gonna come along and do that as well. Like you can't really if you're trying to duplicate this, you can't pay people. You couldn't pay somebody to do what I love to do. They're not gonna be able to get the same product. Do you know what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean? Because like I'll keep building castles all day long because I'm just like, I love this. This is so much fun. And uh and so I think that's how you get over a budget problem is that you fall in love with what you're doing.
And a lot of the film, relies heavily on atmosphere. When building these castles and creating these environments, um, were you thinking about, particular shots and, cinematography or, and even sound design, uh, at that time, or was that something that kind of came about
Yeah,
later?
I don't think other directors do this, but I love building sets because as I build it, I go through the shots. And I'm like, ooh, this wall's not big enough. I need to move this wall because this again, it's going to get in the way. And so much of my pre-production is done while I'm painting because I'm living the scene. I'm like, all right, this is what's happening here. This is what, and it's a way for me just to get into the world and give myself a simple action that's not using my brain, and then I can use my brain to be like visualizing. Okay, so Bodhi's going to be standing here. He's going to be doing this. The witches are doing this. Oh, it'd be really good if there was a pillar here so the witch can move around. Right? No, make a pillar here. And so it's like I'm blocking out an entire movie as I'm helping build the set, and it's a great way to kind of film your movie without a camera yet, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, 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 that's wild. It's kind of neat to think about all those moving pieces. I just can't imagine doing it like, on the way back from a hardware store. But
Yeah.
but that kind of brings me to, your brother and the collaboration you guys have. How was working uh how was the working dynamic this time around, and how has it evolved, over the years?
Jeremy and we really I love working with him. Like we've spent so many years fighting, and like everyone has to find their unique way of like connecting and working with each other. And first off, I couldn't have made this movie without Jeremy. Like he is such a trooper with wearing the armor. The armor was very hard to like it's heavy. It's like 70 to 100 pounds. And he wore that for like 30 days. Some days that he didn't wear as much, but like he is such a trooper, doesn't complain, and is just one of the most wonderful human beings to have on set. And so he, I don't even remember what the question is. I'm just bragging on him right now.
Just how
Um,
your dynamic has evolved.
yeah, it's really just respecting what the other person's really good at. So Jeremy's fantastic at building morale, keeping caring after people, and making sure everyone on set is just safe, taken care of, healthy, just good. Like he's such a good community person. He's like your best friend to the whole crew. Whereas like I'm more of the pit bull that just like, okay, we need to go conquer this. And together we kind of create a very cool dynamic where like lots of vision, but people feel supported. And I feel like that's what makes a great set and a great place for that people just keep wanting to come back because this was such a hard shoot to do, like -30 sometimes out in the wilderness, walking in 2 miles, carrying all the equipment. And we didn't have anyone quit. And that's a testament to just how great Jeremy is with people and just making people feel valued and I hate using this word. We're all a family, but people be like, "Oh, it's like feeling like we're a family on set." I'm like, "No, it's more like a cult." But
I
but it's
like
just
that.
like that's really the great thing that Jeremy brings, and we get in fights all the time on set, and it's so funny. The castle's built out of foam, so I'll be on like Well, we're on the other side of the wall trying to have a private conversation, but the whole wall's like everyone can hear it and they just laugh. It's just two brothers just battling it out. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, the so I could go on for days. This was a fantastic film. I'm a big fan of anything that Black Fawn, has their hands in. So that was
Yeah.
another selling point for me.
Oh, that's great.
But to wrap up, I kind of want to know because there's a lot of directions you can go with this, and especially because you're so invested in the lore. Are there plans to maybe expand the universe a bit, or would
Yeah,
you
we wrote two scripts and we're
Awesome.
ready. We can go two different ways with it. And it's like the story just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So it's really going to come down to hopefully we have a good response. People like it, and if they want more, we're ready to do more. We're ready to go back into the battlefield and make another one. Bigger castles, you know.
Yeah.
And there's so much that we want to explore, and I just think there's not enough dark fantasy out there. I think this is such a fun genre to be in. I just want to keep creating in it. So
Well, I mean, you might as well start making friends at the hardware store
yeah,
again, and then you could fill
yeah,
up you buy another house, and then you could put some
yeah.
more in the backyard.
Exactly, exactly.
But yeah, that's all for today, man. I really truly appreciate your time
Thank you.
here at Cinedump. We let the doers know how they're doing, and you are doing just fine. Keep making them, man, and we will keep watching them. Thank you so much.
Appreciate that so much.